That's okay. Showtime. What? Oh, by the atomic clock.
No, what is this thing? Okay, this special meeting of the Common Council for November 17th, 2022 is now in session. Please rise and pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Anthony. Vescaluti. Here. Craig.
Here.
Harris. Here. Moranti.
Here.
Morris. Here. Roney.
Here.
Starr.
Here.
Walker.
Here.
Wallace.
Here. Here.
Quorum present.
Okay, can I have a motion, introduction and a second to receive the call of the meeting, Ryan and Arthur? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone? The motion carries. So the resolution before us is approving the budget for the period January 1st, 2023 through December 31st, 2023. Can I have an introduction? Ryan and Arthur. Any discussion?
Well, I think we had some discussion at the last meeting. Two things that, I've mentioned them already. The salary increase for the housing justice position. And then the other, which is the increase in the assistant to the mayor. I don't know if people want to discuss either of those. I think with regard to the mayor's position, and now we have a full-time mayor, full-time assistant mayor, or mayor's aide, and when we undertake the work on the sidewalks, to have somebody with a background in contract management to oversee some of that. So I think we need to start thinking maybe next year when we look at the structure of how we're governing, look at having a city manager. And at least begin a discussion of that process. Other than that, the only other observation I had, which I think we need to be very attentive to, is the amount of debt that we have and how much we're paying to service it. So when I met with Heather, as of 12/31/2021, we had 15 million, not in the short-term debt, but in long-term debt. So I'm talking about that.
Sorry.
Debt.
Oh, debt, okay, sorry.
Yeah, so I mean, some of that is
Margaret. A little bit, just project, because even it's very soft.
my problem is that I hear myself very loud because I hear it.
Okay.
Oh,
Like you're very soft right now.
yeah, because I'm
Okay.
like really loud to myself. Yeah, so the issue here is some of this debt is coming off in the next year or so. But I think as we look at these things, we need to pay very close attention to that. The 8 million, that's the short term. Much of that will get funded through
Right.
various grants and so on.
Correct.
So that's less of a concern. But
Right.
I think we need to really pay attention to how much debt we have.
Well,
It's okay right now,
yeah,
I'm just-
well, we're not in more debt, and we're not intending to
exactly.
go into more debt.
right?
We are saddled with the debts of the past,
Yeah.
which we don't spend a lot of time talking about because what good does it do us?
Sorry.
Even though some of them are really poorly
Yeah.
gotten into. But yes, you always have to pay attention to the debt service because it's something, it just keeps coming up, and I appreciated that if we had done a $5 bond for the sidewalks, we would have been saddled with roughly $350,000 a year in debt for a number of years. Anyway,
Those are my only observations.
okay, anybody else? Dominic?
So just a couple comments, follow up with Margaret in terms of the mayoral aide salary. I don't personally see an issue with the increase just because in the last year and a half, Mr. Hoffman has been very available to all of our committees.
Mhm.
He's done a lot of work probably above and beyond. So I think, in that regard, I think that, to move him full-time, because he probably was working full-time before he was, because he was here sometimes more than I was, so, in a lot of the meetings, so I don't see an issue with that, salary, and I also want to commend the BEA for the work on the full budget. I can imagine it's a tedious task. We all want to give a little here and a little there, so. I do wish that, and I would like to know, and maybe down the road, we can hear more from the senior commissioner on what happened on the momentum of, where the senior center was going with the new position that was, was worked through.
Right.
And the funding that now is, that seems to be a little less, to see where that's headed. And as with the housing, Justin, because these are just topics that some of the constituents that reach out, fortunately, yes, the grant is working that, and hopefully moving forward, more grants will absorb that salary as things change. But I have a little bit of concern if that turns into the city funding it. I think we're going to get a lot of pushback in that salary. So hopefully with justification of that salary staying funded by grants, I see that being something very positive. Moving forward.
Thank you. Anyone else? Vicky?
Yeah,
Yes,
go ahead, Vicky.
Yeah, I'd like to agree with Nick. For sure, Michael has been here all the time and works in the morning. About the housing justice, I feel that we cannot really, the Common Council is not our jurisdiction to micromanage, it's another department. And hopefully we won't have to. But in the case of restructuring our government in the city, I feel it's the time to create a committee with a new year to explore other ways of structuring so we are more effective and we don't have to rely in a lot of full-time positions.
Thank you. Ronnie?
Yeah, just touching on basically the points that Margaret, Dominic, and Vicky touched on. Basically, I will echo that Michael, deserves his raise, especially given the amount of work he's put in, positive contributions to the city overall. About the housing justice, I believe that housing is one of the most important issues facing our city right now. So even if this wasn't funded by grants, I think it's still a necessary expense. We don't really blink an eye when we're spending $2.5 million in public safety, because we know that that is something that is necessary for the city's current well-being and the future. This housing issue is going to be a matter of public safety as well. So $80,000 a year is not a big expense, especially considering what needs to get done. There's a lot of work that needs to get done. It is a full-time position, and we need qualified people, and the only way to get qualified people is we have competitive salaries that are posted. And I know there's projects that are coming on board. We've already been presented with at least 2 viable projects that are coming to the city of Hudson, hopefully in the near future. And this is going to require, somebody capable of taking care of those things. So I don't, honestly think, yes, it is a large increase, but I think that $40,000 salary is probably, very, very underpaid in that case. So that's my opinion. And I can understand the concerns when we see a 45% increase in somebody's salary, but I think it's just basically bringing it on par with the level of contributions that we expect from them. And going forward, we will be evaluating that in the future. Other than that, yeah, that's all I have.
Thank you. Yeah, as perhaps a final comment on the housing justice. Recall that I agree that we have to monitor it if it does become a city expense. It is not a city expense currently. Technically speaking, we don't really have any say in it. What she has paid, it's comparable to someone with that degree. She has an advanced degree in urban planning. I would, she should be called housing justice director / urban planner. In any case, it's not really our call. That is to say the council's. On the future of government here, I've always thought that we should at some point have a charter commission to think about other structures. Mind you, it's not that simple. And a city manager is not quite the silver bullet people think it is. It has definite, in my opinion, anti-democratic implications. Is it, you don't trust the election process to bring in somebody who can competently do the things that the city manager does? Do you think a city manager somehow has some kind of magic sense of how to manage things? It doesn't really work like that. But that's my opinion now. I could be convinced otherwise. In any case, it would also take a referendum. It's definitely a change in the power structure. In the meantime, I'm hoping that we can just get a comprehensive plan going come January, which would then, of course, maybe recommend whether we come up with a new system of government.
I just want to clarify something in the discussion regarding the 2 full-time positions in the mayor's office. I'm making a structural point there. Michael has worked, more than full-time a lot of weeks. So it's not about current incumbents. It's a structural question that I was raising. I just want to make sure that I agree completely with Vicky and Dominic on that. I just want to make sure that's clear.
And it's not a little bit awkward to have this conversation in front of Michael himself.
Oh, he's there?
Michael, do you weigh in?
I'm not gonna add to it, but I know Michael. So.
Just one. First, it's just a thank you to the 3 of you, because in this economic climate, this was not easy to do without a raise. My one question that I have though is, there was a note about next year's budget process. We'll have to find 5.5 million or 5.4 million, right? Or no? About, all right, so then I misread something, and that's, okay, perfect. No, not this year, but okay.
I think it just means that that's the money coming from the taxes already allocated for.
Oh, yeah,
That's you knew the number.
Yeah, I looked at that too, and I was misunderstood to be.
That's the number which then gets figured out.
Yeah.
To the tenant there.
And I want to thank Heather, that's
Yeah.
been doing an amazing job as always. Yeah.
Okay. What's that roll call vote?
Councilmember Anthony.
Aye.
Castellucci.
Aye.
Frick.
Aye.
Harris.
Aye.
Moranti.
Aye.
Morris.
Hi.
Roney.
Aye.
Star.
Aye.
Walker.
Aye.
Wallace.
Aye.
President Pietro.
Aye.
Carried.
Pizza on Mike.
Can I have it? Are you gonna be able to make your drawing?
I am able to make my goal. Oh, actually, I could have 2 hour presentation.
I'll second. Ryan and Arthur.
Thank you,
All those
everybody.
in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Yeah.
Anyone opposed? Michael?